Alright, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to Real Madrid Hub again. I'm your host, Dr. Jota, and today, again, after the whole event, the farewell event of Sergio Ramos yesterday, Thursday, we will be back on track talking about what is the most important for us this summer, which is, of course, the signing of Kylian Mbappe. And believe it or not, it's really related, the departure of Sergio Ramos and also the possible departure of Rafa Varane to the signing of Kylian Mbappe. And you are maybe wondering now why. What is the reason for that? Why are these names so attached to each other? Okay, let me explain you something. What Real Madrid is expecting to happen, and very soon, is not only the possible departure of Rafa Varane, but also the possible signing of one or the other signing for PSG. I mean, Ramos or Rafa Varane might end in PSG, which is of course very good for Real Madrid, and now I will explain you why. But also, not only Rafa Varane and Ramos signing for PSG, also Cristiano Ronaldo might join PSG as well. And this is good news for Real Madrid, and the reason is because if Al-Khelaifi feels that he's building up a project with super top names, with big names, with important players, then he would be more flexible. I mean, according to the thoughts of Real Madrid, he would be more flexible when it comes to sell Kylian Mbappe and sit down with Real Madrid for start any kind of negotiation with Los Blancos for signing Kylian Mbappe. So that is exactly what Real Madrid is waiting for. I mean, a kind of domino effect that with all these departures and arrivals and stuff like that, pushing in our direction and easing a little bit more the signing of Kylian Mbappe. So I wouldn't be surprised that if Sergio Ramos finally plays for PSG, or even Rafa Varane going to PSG, would help a lot for the signing of Kylian Mbappe. And of course, if they are able to sign Cristiano Ronaldo as well, who in my opinion is waiting for Mbappe to leave PSG to occupy that spot in PSG, in my opinion, all these circumstances, all these departures, arrivals, signing and things would help to Real Madrid to sign Kylian Mbappe, because that way, if Al-Khelaifi has alternatives enough to cover the gap to replace Kylian Mbappe, in my opinion, that would be much more easier for us to land Kylian Mbappe for the next summer. And of course, if we are unable to sign Kylian Mbappe, then according to this article from ABC Spain, Real Madrid Florentino Perez will go ahead, I mean straight ahead, and sign Erling Haaland, or at least try it. I mean, it's gotta be difficult though, as you know, Erling Haaland, or better said, Borussia Dortmund is not willing to sell to the Norwegian player this year. But according to this information, Florentino Perez, like we saw yesterday with Sergio Ramos and Zinedine Zidane, and even with Cristiano Ronaldo, is determined to do the things completely different, in a different way that has been doing over the last 3 years. I mean, this year, this summer will be completely different, and Florentino Perez is strongly convinced that he has to also either sign a lot of people, but of course selling a lot of players. I mean, and he's very determined, is going the pedal to the metal, all in to change and remodel completely the squad of Real Madrid, and that includes to Erling Haaland. I mean, Florentino Perez is determined to sign Erling Haaland just for a reason, and that reason is pretty much because he understands without a top player, without a top scorer, Real Madrid has nothing to do in the most important competition, which is the Champions for now, in the Champions League. It's not only in La Liga, but also in Europe. I mean, in order for us to be in the same level than other super powerful teams in Europe, we need top players and of course, specifically top scorers. So if we are unable to sign Kylian Mbappe, according to ABC Spain, we will go ahead and try our best in order for us to sign Erling Haaland no matter what, which is of course very good news for me. I mean, I'm so happy if that happened, but let me tell you that I think it's going to be really difficult, because if Borussia Dortmund is going to sell Jadon Sancho, I don't think that they want to get rid of two of the best players that they have, just because Florentino Perez want to sign Erling Haaland. So I don't know what is going to happen, but the attitude of Florentino Perez, very active, very determined to remodel the whole squad, is very good for me, because that is always, it's ambition, it's exciting, and of course I'm looking forward to see how Florentino Perez remodel the squad completely. So now let's move on and let's keep talking about another Real Madrid player who, in my opinion, is closer to leave Real Madrid. I mean, there are still people who believes that the player, Rafa Varane, will stay in Real Madrid, but in my opinion, this is not impossible, but it's not very easy to happen, because he is convinced to leave Real Madrid this summer, and of course Real Madrid agrees with that. Apparently, for any reason we don't know, Real Madrid, yes, we do know, there is a reason for that. It's only 1 year contract left for Rafa Varane, and what Florentino Perez doesn't want at all is to lose Rafa Varane for free. You know what I'm saying? So he prefers to make some money, or to make a lot of money with Rafa Varane this year, rather than, selling for free or letting him go for free the next year. So according to Cadena Ser, Rafa Varane will leave Real Madrid. There's no a single person within Real Madrid that thinks that Rafa Varane will stay in Real Madrid. Everybody in Real Madrid is thinking right now that Rafa Varane is the next departure of Real Madrid, which is funny because it's another center back, and now we have to cover that gap with another player. But the thing is, if the French player wants to leave already Real Madrid, it's pretty much because he understands that his life, his career in Real Madrid is over, and now is the time for him to change, the time for him to start another, from the beginning in another team or something like that. And this information is coming from Cadena Ser in Spain. I think I heard about that last night when they were talking about the defense of Real Madrid after the departure of Sergio Ramos. They were speaking about different names, the future, Nacho Fernandez, Vallejo as a possible fourth center back, and then they said that Rafa Varane, Real Madrid, everybody in Real Madrid is assuming the departure of Rafa Varane. And of course, once they are assuming the departure of Rafa Varane, the next question in the air that pops up to my mind is, what is the possible destination for Rafa Varane? Where is he going to play the next season? Okay, according to Daily Mirror in England, Manchester United has already put an offer on the table, which is about 60 million euros, which is a very good money, but Florentino Perez has refused that offer just because he wants to get about 90 million euros for Rafa Varane. This is not insane or crazy price or something like that. If you think about it, Rafa Varane is worth about 70 million according to Transfer Market. So the most understandable and reasonable thing is to think that Florentino Perez will ask that price plus another additional 10 to 20 million, because it's pretty normal that the clubs ask a little bit higher than the transfer market price or the market price is set, or things like that, right? So in my opinion, if Florentino Perez is able to sell Rafa Varane for 90 million euros, that would be a great deal for Real Madrid, because we would be making about 90 additional million that nobody expected, nobody in Real Madrid was expecting to happen in this year. We didn't have another possible sale for us to get that certain amount of money. You know what I'm saying? So now with the money on the box, on the books, or whatever you want to call it, we can redirect the money to either sign another fourth center back or even to pay the signing of Kylian Mbappe. If not 100% of the price, maybe the 60% of the price. So it's still a very good sale, and it's very likely to happen. And it's not only about the money, it's also that we can use to Rafa Varane as a mean to bring in to Kylian Mbappe. If PSG make the call to Real Madrid and say, hey, we want to sign to Rafa Varane, then we can utilize and take advantage from that position to convince PSG to lose the rope of Kylian Mbappe for signing him. So let's see what happens, but apparently Manchester United and PSG are the best positioned right now to sign Rafa Varane for the next summer. So and now let's move on and let's take advantage from this conversation regarding to the defense of Real Madrid, to the back line, and about the debate who is going to be the fourth center back for the next season. Because according to some information, Real Madrid, although Jules Koundé is in the list of possible transfers for Real Madrid to occupy that position, the fourth center back, according to some other people, Vallejo, the player that we have on loan in Granada, might occupy that spot. And the reason is pretty much because, I mean, if you bring in to Jules Koundé, you will have like 4 super top center backs, and that is a problem along the season. Because if you think about it, Ancelotti will have to pick 2 of the 4th center backs. So if one of them, Nacho Fernandez, it's okay because he's a player that normally, with the exception of the last season where he had to replace the Sergio Ramos, of course Nacho Fernandez has spent more time on the bench, and that would be, I think, okay with him. It's more used to that, to be on the bench and start from the bench and things like that, than, for example, if you put on the bench to Jules Koundé. Jules Koundé is a guy who is in the lineup and has been playing every single game in Sevilla. So I don't know how would that work for him to be or start from the bench, because I'm assuming that Militao and David Alaba will be the couple who will be in the lineup of Real Madrid every single weekend, because Militao is doing a great season. The last 4 to 5 games of Militao in Real Madrid were great, and of course David Alaba is coming in to be in the lineup every single weekend. I can't imagine to David Alaba going to the bench. You know what I'm saying? So if you keep Jules Koundé on the bench, a player you have paid about 60 million for. You know what I'm saying? It's almost impossible to understand how are you going to keep this player on the bench. So that's why Vallejo, which is not he's not very as good as Jules Koundé, of course, but that would be a little bit better to assume that he has to start from the beginning from the bench. You know what I'm saying? So there will no conflict between the players or players with the coach. It's gonna be a little bit easier for the coach to pick 2 of the 4 center backs in Real Madrid. So we'll see what happens, but apparently Vallejo might be the 4th center back. So, and let's move on. Let's keep talking about different names, and I want to address an information that came out from Diario AS in the last moments of yesterday, who was about the possible swap between Spinazzola and Borja Mayoral. Real Madrid would be getting to Spinazzola as a left back, and then would be giving on loan to Borja Mayoral to Rome. I was assuming that Borja Mayoral was not going to come back to Real Madrid, because for that position we want to sign a super top player, or to keep Benzema in the position of a striker. So that would be very difficult for Borja Mayoral to succeed in Real Madrid. So now what we have is a possible swap that Real Madrid will have with Rome in order for them to get Borja Mayoral forever, and then we will be getting to Spinazzola. Spinazzola is a player, 28 years old, player of Rome, left back, but in my opinion, this is a completely nonsense, and the reason is because we already have 3 players that play in that position, in the left back. We have to Miguel Gutierrez, we have to Ferland Mendy, we have to Marcelo, and of course we also have to David Alaba, who might play as well in that position. So if we get to Spinazzola, it's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but what is the point of this swap for Real Madrid? What are you getting with that player when you already have players for that position? In my opinion, we should look for another different positions. For example, the right back is a completely different story, because we have to Carvajal, we have to Odriozola, and we have to Lucas Vázquez. But Odriozola and Lucas are more offensive players, are more, in my opinion, fullbacks than right backs. The only profile, the only right back, natural, original right back is Dani Carvajal. So we should look for another replacement, for another natural replacement for Dani Carvajal, instead to sign another left back, which in my opinion we already have. We already have plenty of them. You know what I'm saying? We are trying to get rid of first, for example, Marcelo Vieira, instead to bring in to Spinazzola. But this is the information that I have, and I wanted to share this with you because I think that is important enough to speak about that. So now let me know your thoughts about that. Just comment in the section below, and of course subscribe my channel, Real Madrid Hub.